welcome to this week's live stream. We're Erin and Amanda of Level Up Creators and Level Up Creators School. I'm our Director of Operations, and Amanda Northcutt is our CEO. We are talking about decision-making frameworks today, and we're so glad to spend a few minutes of our day with you. If you have any questions for us at any point in time, please drop them in the chat and we will answer those. Okay, so if you haven't met us, there are two ways that we help creators and thought leaders build recurring revenue businesses. So the first is Level Up Creators, our done for you white glove consulting firm, and the second is Level Up Creator School, where we help a global group of thought leaders build businesses through a done with you model. Creator School includes access to our consulting team and methodology in a way that used to be reserved exclusively for our consulting clients. So, hi and welcome, and we are so excited to meet you. Okay, let's jump right in. So, Amanda, you emphasize this importance of aligning decisions with core values and goals. For creators and maybe solopreneurs juggling like lots of projects and priorities, how can they build a system that's relatively simple
Mm.
that checks this like alignment with their mission and their values and their goals on a regular basis as they're like taking on constant new opportunities?
Yeah. So the 10-year plan is where this kind of like comes into play. And we call this group of information a 10-year vision, a 3-year mission, like a 3-year goal, a 1-year goal, and then quarterly goals. It's like kind of and core values, North Star documentations. Like here's where we're going in the long term, midterm, and short term. And so when you've got a vision and it's not crystallized, like the farther out it is, the murkier and fuzzier it looks, right? But if that is ultimately the goal of your business, it's much easier to make a decision on what you should and should not do today. And of course, your core values should be documented and written down, especially if you have a VA or literally anyone working for you. I think it's also just a very helpful exercise to facilitate your or to level up your decision making in general. So, does this align with my long term vision? Does this help my goals? What's the risk associated with it, both inside of my company and on a macroeconomic level? And anything on the outside, like what are the outside forces that might have an impact? Does this align with my core values? Again, what's the impact on stakeholders, myself, my business, my customers, very importantly? So, if you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up somewhere else. And that is a Yogi Berra quote that I really, really love. And it's absolutely true. And so I would definitely encourage you, if you are severely lacking clarity in terms of like why you're building this personal brand business, why you want to monetize your subject matter expertise, like, which is what we help people do all day long. It's like, to what end? Why are you doing this? And if you know why you're doing something, one, it's a lot easier to get out of bed in the morning and go through the motions and execute on the work that needs to be done and establish habits, to take the small steps to get toward the bigger goals. But again, that also serves as a fantastic clarifier in terms of what you should do versus what you should not do.
Yeah. Okay, so working in iterations is a powerful framework, especially for creators. Like when you think about how much content they're making,
Mhm.
sometimes they're like making these very low risk products or services for people. What is the best way that you have found that they could track their reflections or make low risk adjustments?
Mm. Yeah. So, what do you need to track and how are you going to track it? Like, how are you going to test the efficacy of your decision? Like, was it a good decision or was it a bad decision? And there's a mindset piece of this. It's really, really important. A lot of creators and individuals that we work with are very high performers, have very high expectations and standards for excellence, even in an area where they're not an expert, which is not realistic. I appreciate that that's like the goal, and striving for excellence is one of our values, but um, don't be hard on yourself if something does not meet your expectation. But also don't believe this, like, even if you have no following and no methodology and no business experience, you can have a 6-figure course launch or whatever. Like, bullshit. Just full stop. I have no problem saying that whatsoever. I can't stand that kind of like icky marketing. I think it really like preys on people and women in particular. I have no tolerance for that, frankly. So again, if you know where you're going, it's going to be a lot easier to get there and to like think linearly about what are the incremental steps that I need to take in order to get here, right? What has to be true a month from now, at the end of the quarter, at the end of 2025, for me to get toward that 3-year goal? And based on my business type, what do I need to be measuring to know for sure through quantitative data if I am making progress or not? And there's a big difference in between like vanity metrics and metrics that actually matter in businesses. And so, like, unless your core business is brand deals and like there's a direct, I mean, one-to-one relationship between the number of social media followers you have and the amount of money you're making, which again, if speaking engagements, that matters too. Sometimes book sales, but more like speaking engagements and brand deals. If that's your core business, your follower count is not a vanity metric at all. That's really important. You should be paying attention to that. And you should understand how much a follower is worth in terms of revenue, not like they're worth as a human or anything, to be clear, but just the monetization piece in your business, right? The quantitative metric. But if you are selling digital products, right? Like how are people behaving in your top of funnel channels? That's anywhere people are interacting with you where you don't yet have their email address, right? We consider that the middle of the funnel once someone has signed up for a lead magnet or your newsletter. And so I would say that the first really important metric to be tracking if you are selling something directly to a person or a business is how many people that follow me or interact with me or listen to my podcast or whatever are on my email list. What's the conversion rate, right? So number of email subscribers divided by social media followers times 100. That's like your percentage. And then from there, how many people are opening my emails and clicking through to my landing pages? And then if you have a heat mapping tool like Crazy Egg or Microsoft Clarity, like a $10 a month tool, you can see how people behave anonymously on your website. So you know that you might need to change your CTA or swap these two sections. And then ultimately, how many people are putting whatever you're selling into their checkout cart? And of those people, how many people are leaving without completing their purchase versus completing their purchase? And so you're like tracking broad strokes behavior throughout your customer journey, and you have one whether you know it or not if you're selling anything online. And then what can you do in service of optimizing those conversion rates if in fact you are if you like the customers that you've attracted and you want more of them, right? Then how do you get more of that same type of customer? If you don't, that's a different kind of situation. But yeah, revenue, MRR is obviously a huge one. Monthly recurring revenue is what all businesses that we build are striving toward.
Yeah. Okay. You also talk about this idea of buying back your time by outsourcing.
Yeah.
So if a creator or a solopreneur is just bringing on somebody to help them on their team, what is their first step when it comes to delegation?
Know what you need to have done before you go out and try and find someone. So define the jobs to be done, literally make a list, and then ask yourself, how do I do each of these jobs? And how will I communicate to this individual that I hire how to do these things? How frequently do they need to be done? How am I going to hold that person accountable? How am I going to know if they're doing a good job or not? And a lot of that comes down to hiring methodology, which is very complicated, and the vast majority of people and businesses get this very, very, very wrong. So bad hires is typically like, I mean, it's a company killer for sure. So that's a subject for another day. But I would encourage you to at least define the jobs that you need to have done, and then create checklists for how those things should be done, right? Like what login information is required, what's an absolute no-no, never click this button, right? Never click send. That's my job, right? Not yours. And so you need to kind of define a sandbox that this individual will work within, say what's okay and what's not okay, and then hold them accountable. Talk to them at least once a week. Have Slack communication with them or texting or whatever works for you, to make sure that you're on the same page. And if you do have that long-term vision and you do have goals, and you hire an intelligent person with a growth mindset, they're going to be able to start connecting the dots between what you're asking them to do and where you're trying to go as an organization. So it's very helpful if you have someone with experience, perhaps that's been recommended by a trusted person or colleague in your network. But yeah, that's where you start for sure. What am I solving for? Why do I need to hire someone? And then like prove it to yourself.
Yeah, that's good. I feel like we're barely able to even scratch the surface. So we'll definitely have to do a part two. But we thank you guys so much for joining our live stream, and be sure to follow us for more tips and insights on building your successful recurring revenue business. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Erin.
It definitely